queuing out the door and round the building where this jobs fair in Leeds, the situations vacant range from the civil service to delivery services.
We are recruiting permanently as well.
We find some people struggling, needing work after being laid off.
Did you get no notice that you were being let go?
Mm-mm.
Same day?
Mm-hmm.
For others, they want a change and better conditions.
I end up with less than £100 in sick pay for a month. I would have got more on benefits.
It makes your whole life inconsistent if you're not knowing until the next week or even day when you're working. You might have to cancel plans, friends you've not seen in a while, not see them, things like that. So I'd say it is good to have that consistency with a contract.
And so to one of the big promises made before the election, the Employment Rights Bill, introduced to Parliament today.
I feel the Deputy Prime Minister's been practising.
While in Chesterley Street, the Business Secretary and the Deputy Prime Minister were on a tour of a giant supermarket warehouse and bigging up the changes as a boost, not just to workers' rights.
These packages are pro-business and pro-worker, and we've worked with businesses, big, small, medium, all over the country, and we've had many of them welcome the measures that we're saying. We've acknowledged some of the challenges around these are a huge reform package, so therefore we're going to make sure that they're part of the process.
The Employment Rights Bill's 28 separate measures include what's described as day one rights on paternity leave, unpaid bereavement leave and protection from unfair dismissal. There'd be an entitlement to statutory sick pay from the first day someone's off ill and a right to flexible working by default where practical. On 0 hours contracts, minimum hours contracts will have to be offered based on hours worked over a 12-week period. Many changes, though, won't take effect for 2 years, and there have been claims some aspects seem watered down.
Can you just explain for me how it is that you're able to say that if you get a new job, on day one of that job, you will get a protection from now on against unfair dismissal, while at the same time you're saying there'll be a 9-month probationary period where actually they can get rid of you fairly easily?
Well, absolutely. So look, at the minute, someone could be in an employment situation for under 2 years. Employer could walk in and say you're out, no reasons, no justification for that, and you'd have no protection against that. So that will end. You will have the right to protection against unfair dismissal. What we recognise is there needs to be a part of an employment relationship where at the beginning, if things are not working out, you need a lighter touch process for fair dismissal.
I mean, 9 months is a long while. You wanted it to be 6 months, didn't you?
Well, we have never put a timescale on it. We've been working, we've been listening. There'll be a formal consultation as part of it.
After one of the more volatile periods for industrial relations, the reaction from unions has been largely positive. From some small businesses, though, less so.
My worry is about the headlines right now. The headlines are scary for the average small business owner. And although there's a 2-year, maybe 2-year plus process of coming up with detailed recommendations, the chilling effect it will have on day one is large.
Businesses of all sizes in Sunderland today at the North East Growth Summit. Concerns about the impact on some sectors were echoed, though the reaction from many sounded positive.
We really welcome the announcements today because we think that actually they will help give our customers and others like them the stability and security that they really need to be able to take up and remain within employment.
We just need to make sure that what is intended to be a good package of measures to improve employment rights but also to improve levels of productivity across the UK don't have those unintended consequences on small businesses.
Next then, more talking, with further consultation to nail down details of reforms the government insists can be both pro-business and pro-worker.
Well, a short time ago, I spoke to the Employment Minister, Alison McGovern, and I started by asking her if she'd given in to the business lobby over the Employment Rights Bill.
No, not at all. And I think it's Sharon Graham who you're quoting there from Unite the Union. And everybody will share their opinions about this bill, and that's great. That's very welcome. We've spent a long time talking about this,
and this is a momentous day because we finally got the bill in front of us. However, there's a long way to go yet in terms of the parliamentary process. So yes, of course, people will share their opinions and we'll continue to work with businesses and trade unions to get this bill right.
So you could, through the parliamentary process, you could beef some of this up. For example, on flexible working, where there is a default right to flexible working, but businesses can refuse those requests from employers for a vast array of reasons. I just wonder whether you think that you're able to sort of beef that up during the process.
Well, as I say, I think this is about putting a principle in place, putting a floor underneath workers, because we've got far too many problems with an insecure workforce. So we want to shift that balance and give people new rights for the first time. Where there are questions like that about how this will work in practice, we'll talk to people about it. But also you'll know that when we introduced the minimum wage, that had a massive impact, and also, it wasn't perfect immediately. We worked on it over time, and that will be true of this big shift as well.
So you're pulled both ways on this though, aren't you? Because businesses say it could make it harder to hire workers. Will you listen to their concerns as the bill goes through?
Well, as one of the ministerial team on the bill, I've already been listening to businesses, to trade unions, to charities and others, and quite often in the same room having those conversations together. And that's how we'll go on to get this right. When I think about the hundreds of thousands of social care workers in this country, many of them, but not all of them, represented by trade unions, this is a big day for them because in social care we've got too many low-paid people who are very highly skilled. And this bill will have a special effect for the first time a negotiating body for the whole of the social care workforce. That's a big shift.
None of these changes come in until 2026. So it's change, as your slogan says, but it is change at quite a snail's pace, isn't it?
Well, some people will say we're going too fast. For some people, it won't be quickly enough. The truth is, it takes time to legislate at the scale we're doing today. This is a big bill. It's got to make its way through the House of Commons and through the House of Lords and have that appropriate scrutiny.
Business has had its concerns about workers' rights. They've got the budget coming up. The Guardian reports that you're looking at, according to Treasury modelling, you're looking at increasing capital gains tax to 39%. You also haven't ruled out raising employers' national insurance contributions. Is this budget going to worry business, do you think?
We've been talking very regularly with business over a whole number of issues. One of their major problems at the moment is not enough staff. It's my job in looking after our job centres and our work coaches to try and get more people into good jobs. That is a thing that I'm working together with businesses on day in, day out, and that will continue, up to the budget and beyond.
Clearly, I don't expect you to comment on the budget. You're not the Chancellor. But, she has limited her room for manoeuvre by making promises on income tax and VAT and national insurance and so on during the election campaign. So there aren't that many taxes that she can go for. So going back to your department, welfare reform and employment rights you're going to have to be pretty ambitious on that going forward, aren't you, to avoid swinging public service cuts?
We are very ambitious on it because at the moment, if you go into a job centre, there are brilliant work coaches there, but the problem is the system holds them back. There's too much admin, there's too much box ticking, they can't focus enough on the human being in front of them. And I want to change that.
You've just added a whole load of regulations in what you've set out today. So employers are going to look at that and go, well, I don't think I'm going to take on those people who are struggling to get back into work as you describe it.
I think employers have different views about this, and I respect that. I think some employers would say there's things here we already do, and we're interested in there being a platform underneath workers so that the better businesses aren't undercut by the bad. I think employers, will want to work with us to get the detail of this right. For young people, their challenge is that they failed, had a bad experience at school, the qualifications they needed they didn't get, and there's been nothing in place to help them since then. So those are big challenges. Liz Kendall, Secretary of State, and I are very ambitious about change.
Alison McGovern, thanks very much.
Thank you.